thank the speakers. I think we've had certainly a very broad mix of topics. Having various talks about folks doing things on top of Zen Cloud Platform and the very sort of high-level use of Zen, and also talks about twiddling bits in chipsets. So I know that there's a good chunk of the audience that appreciate both kinds of talk, and I know that there are other people who are here just to listen to the high-level stuff and others just to the low level. So, perhaps in future Zen summits, we might try and schedule things to enable people to actually choose what they, what kind of talks they want to go to a bit more easily. But thank the speakers, and thank you guys for showing up and making this a successful summit. So, thanks to AMD for letting us use this venue, and to Tim and John Fritz, who have helped with enabling us to use this venue. But also, I would just briefly like to remember someone who many people here, I guess, know, which is Neil Kelly, who worked at AMD and did a lot at AMD to help the Zen community. And tragically, he died in a road accident in December, and will be greatly missed by all those that knew him and worked with him. So very sad, but he was actually one of the people responsible for setting this up. So in terms of how we can, or things which I've heard during the course of the summit, which we want to respond to and see how we can improve things within in the community. One of the things that a number of folk who come up and said to me is that they want sort of more visibility into what's happening with things like Zen Cloud Platform, and that's something which I think that all of the folks that are working on that are going to endeavor to do a better job of that going forward. So we want to make sure that the things like the roadmaps and things like that are updated. But also, I think one of the best ways of getting that going will be to set up a monthly call, at least for the next few months, where all of the folk that are contributing on the project, if we actually try and just get all of the different folk on the phone. I know these kind of large conference calls are always a bit of a nightmare to manage, and particularly all the different time zones that people are in. But at least once a month, we're going to give it a go for a few months, and just to enable everyone to go through talking about what their requirements are and what kinds of things they're working on, and then hopefully just start connecting people together and getting people realizing when they're working on similar projects, and then hopefully we'll be able to continue that discussion in detail on the mailing list. It's really just a case of making people aware of what they're doing, and we'll try that for a few months, see how it works out. But hopefully, even just with everybody at the summit, hopefully there'll be a bit more coordination. So, the next Zen Summit is actually going to be in Korea, November 2nd and 3rd. So I hope at least some of you will make the trip out there. I've certainly never been to Korea before. I'm looking forward to seeing what Seoul's like. And there are various other Zen events between now and then. There's the various Zen Directions events, which are more sort of user-focused events. So if you've got Zen-based products and want a speaking slot at a Zen Directions event, or you want to get involved with the Zen booth, then just get in touch with Stephen Spector. So if anyone's got any questions, or we want to have an open discussion now, we can do that. I know some people have got flights to catch, so feel free to run out the back of the back door straight away. But if anyone's got any questions, we can pass the mic around and perhaps have a discussion. It's funny, at the summit in Shanghai, I said that, and there was like about an hour's worth of discussion. Who's got the mic? Sorry.
The Zen Cloud product, are there providers out there that are
Right. Well, as part of Zen Cloud Platform, there are tools to actually deal with OVF files, which is kind of the direction that everyone is at least supposed to be converging on. But the trouble with OVF is it's a standard which is a union of everything that's pretty much ever existed beforehand. So it's still possible to say that you're producing an OVF file and still have no one else on the planet able to read it. But there are tools which are part of Zen Cloud Platform which enable you to convert, do V2Vs on files, VMDK files, and also from other OVF files. But I don't think those tools are particularly well integrated at the moment, and that's certainly something that would be good for the project to do and for people to work on to actually integrate that support better, so we can actually have good OVF interoperability and have that as the native file format that it uses.
But I mean, what I'm talking about is something more like, all right, we're using Linode, we're using SliceHost, ultimately EC2, but Linode and SliceHost, that's really more my market, would use something like that. As far as I know, they're not using anything like OVF.
Right now, probably not. I mean, OVF is, well, I guess it's been around for a while, but it hasn't really kind of emerged as the de facto standard, though everybody is at least talking the talk that, or at least the VMwares, the Microsofts, and Citrix and other companies are saying that that's what they're converging on. Yeah. But it's a decent enough format, and everyone could converge on it. And it would be good to get native support into things like Zen Cloud Platform, and it's all part of the open source stack. It's just people generally. A lot of people are just using raw files right now, which is fine. I think it's just useful to have some metadata with it. Are we done? Conrad, Jeremy?
Well, we haven't really been pushing very much Zen stuff upstream lately. The current strategy is the stuff basically it's all Conrad's problem at the moment. The current strategy is to get the DOM zero stuff into mainline in a not sleepy, subtle way. By upstreaming the PCI front grade, which is sort of generally useful to existing DOM users and existing Zen environments. But in order to implement that, you need to get something like, I don't know, 60% of the tricky DOM zero stuff into the kernel anyway. And then there's a little bit more, and then you get the proof command interface in, which is pretty straightforward. And then at that point, you have an upstream kernel that's at least capable of starting domains, but wouldn't have any backend drivers. And then we just need to work out how to get the backends into an upstreamable state. At that point, you have not necessarily 100% bells and whistles upstream DOM zero kernel, but you have all the core functionality and then a set of out-of-tree patches to get all the embellishments that you might want. So that's the strategy. Exactly what the timescale is, it's a little hard to tell. It's not, there's no desperately difficult roadblocks at the moment. It's really just a matter of negotiating out the most tricky parts, and then all the other stuff should follow along fairly smoothly behind that. Anything to it?
That's pretty much summarized it.
But there's not, I think for the folks, the distros that are using Zen, those patches are actually reasonably straightforward to maintain, right? Which is why there hasn't been the huge emphasis on getting things upstream that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Debian is now shipping the PBOX .0 stuff. So they find the current set of patches manageable.
Yeah, I think that was the key thing, was getting all of the guest support upstream. That was, that obviously happened a couple of years ago. But, it'd be good to get the Dom Zero stuff up, but it doesn't cause, I think that's part of the problem, is it doesn't cause enough pain for people to make them concentrate on, have a concerted effort.
Google, I mean, at one point it caused people immense amounts of pain to the extent that they went and invented a whole new hypervisor technology, and then it became easier, anyway, so the distros that count, Red Hat's obviously gone their own way. Debian is picking up the Zen, sort of mainline Zen development fairly well. Novell, for still inexplicable reasons, is forward-porting stuff, and I guess that's useful in some way, but it would be really nice if they went and get the BBOps part. And then, is there anyone else? Oracle is doing BBOps, which is not actually not been going. Are they ever going to go BBOps? Well, Fedora doesn't. Oh, the other thing, Fedora. So, I mean, I think that once we get a substantial amount of Dom Zero into mainline, it should be fairly easy to get convince the Fedora maintainers to enable it in the Fedora developments. And then, maybe real server will have something in. Or maybe they'll backport it into whatever kernel they can, but that's really real six. Well, you mean what kernels am I pulling into the Zen kit? Well, I've sort of been keeping fairly closely with the mainline things. The kernel that we've been emphasizing lately is 2632, and that's because one of the distros have decided to pick that up as their next thing, and has been sort of officially blessed as a long-term stable kernel. So that's going to be getting updates from the Linux community for a very long time. And so that's kind of been the baseline for new Zen BBOS development. But those changes also meant very cleanly into 2633, so there is a 2633 branch in Zen.git if you want to use it. And I haven't personally tested that very much and haven't really emphasized it because I wanted to get more exposure on 32. But that's there, and I believe it works, has worked for me. And I just merged in a new 2633 free stable update yesterday. We added a new API to Zen, which is used by the host 2632 on kernels. So they can't go back to 4 or Zen 4 or Zen 3 4. So there's a sort of latch there that you can't do new kernels with all the way to Zen 1.0. The new kernels work perfectly okay with on with on Zen. With on 0 to Zen. But aside from that, like all the kernels, 2631 kernels are kernels keep working with the other Zen.
Will the 2627 kernel work fine with Zen 4?
Zen 5.
So kind of the only requirement is that you wanna use the new latest videos on zero kernels, then you can have like recently Zen as well. But if you use some of the older zero kernels, then you can pretty much use any somewhere.
Yeah, that's going to be the strategy to add features into Zen to make it, to reduce the number of patches that you need in the domain 0 kernel. And that's one of the things that happened with 2632. Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think the amount of, I mean, there are still bits of Linux code that are in Zen. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Keir, but I don't think it causes a great deal of pain. Yeah, or bits of ACPI parsing code and things like that. Yeah, certainly with the work, for things like power management, all of the work which has been done on client, I think, there's a good job has been done basically on the CPU power management. And it's also interesting that it's something which is quite different in a hypervisor relative to how you'd want to do it within a guest operating system. So it's a good example of why, we need to do something different. Just because of you have quite different constraints dealing with processors versus guest OSs, and all of the things which have been done with coalescing timers and things like that, I think would be quite problematic. Or the approach you'd have to take to it would be quite different within an OS kernel.
What about, I think there was some talk a while ago of rootable non-zeros or other mechanisms like that would help carriers?
Yeah, I mean, there was work done in Cambridge, and I think like 2004, 2005, with introducing the idea of driver domains that could be rebooted. And the fact is, the vast majority of Zen configurations which are out there today just put everything into DOM0. Though I think that driver domains are going to make a comeback, and that'll be good, whether they're HVM driver domains like Jean talked about, or PV ones. I think different people want to do different things there. And that immediately helps you a lot in being able to survive device driver failures. One of the things which will be interesting is to see whether all of the front-end and back-end protocols, which were designed to be able to deal with this restarting, whether things have rotted since 2005 and actually there's problems reconnecting. I strongly suspect it's not going to work out of the box, but it ought to be able to get it working again. And then for actually rebooting Domain Zero itself, that's something which I've certainly heard of people working on in the last year. I don't know where that work is currently happening. But really, it's just the state in XenStore at that point that you want to maintain. And with the even with the OCaml XenStore, you can cause that to get written out, store it somewhere, and then you could potentially restart Domain Zero, read that state back again, and then be able to continue.
With the XenStore stuff, the XenStore stuff work?
Yeah, you could just run XenStore on a stub domain. Yeah, that's true. So what's the status of those patches?
Well, I was actually asking about them recently, and they got posted and got ignored, and sort of did not know what to do. I hadn't looked more closely to see how close they did, whether or not they can revive easily or not.
Right. It'd certainly be good to get to the point where we could reboot Dom Zero. The only other thing which is a little bit problematic is all of the ACPI and interrupt routing stuff and things like that. You really don't want to have to run through all of that again.
Like you specifically want to reboot DOM Zero, you just subdivide DOM Zero enough so that the things that you might want to reboot are not DOM Zero anymore, and then DOM Zero becomes critical and not restartable, but also doesn't have anything to break it.
Yeah, that's why getting the driver domains out is key, or having driver domains is key, but also you could just run the whole control tool stack in another VM so that you could reboot that. And it's true at that point, DOM Zero isn't really doing anything. Derek Murray. I mean, there are patches floating around for that. But yeah, we could certainly see if Derek Murray has continued to maintain it. Yeah. I mean, that would be a good candidate for something just to leave in Domain Zero. But certainly, if you get the device drivers out and the tool stack out, then you're in pretty good shape, I think. And yeah, quite clearly at the time that most of this work was going on, most people weren't that bothered about about the restartability of or RAS stuff in general. And I think that times have moved on. It's now an important issue for plenty of people, so it's time to start dusting off those patches and looking into if we can get them into mainline. So is Oracle volunteering to help with that? I think